Hi there, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me and see our videos today. We can't see you on the webinar, but hopefully you've all got access to the camera to be able to see us. So welcome everyone to the 9th Skills Workshop Virtual Careers Fair. For those of you who have been here before and followed the programme since June, welcome back. And to anyone joining for the first time, welcome to you too. I'm your host for the session today, Lindsay Hudson, and alongside 60 different firms, we created a skills workshop to give you the skills, the knowledge and the insight that you need to prepare for a career within asset management. They were created to help increase application success. And as a reminder, all of our sessions are free to register and the details are in the chat box below. This virtual careers fair is like no other. Over the months of September and October, we're featuring 41 different firms every single day for 1 hour, each telling you what they do, how they hire, and what skills you need to demonstrate to stand out from other applicants and to be successful. And it's a crazy competitive world out there. And last night, I think you heard from PIMCO, one of the largest asset managers in the world, with over $2.2 trillion under management globally. Tonight, we're featuring my very own firm, Aegon Asset Management. And joining us today are my colleague, Sarah Hawkins, who heads up our recruitment efforts in the UK, Dami Otakoya, who's a dealer within our investment team, and Georgina Laird, who's a sustainable investment analyst. And between us, we'll introduce our firm, talk to you about what we do, the different areas of our business. Many people know about the front office, portfolio management and sales, but there are so many other areas. So Sarah will touch on opportunities at Aegon Asset Management and how you can apply. Any deadlines, any other useful bits of information you need to differentiate your application. So listen carefully because this is going to be packed hopefully with helpful tips and tricks for you to be successful. So if I can ask the team to introduce themselves very briefly, tell us a little bit about what you do and a bit about yourself. But before I start, I'm just going to share my screen quickly with a bit of an amusing few sketches for you to see. These have been done by one of our solicitors at the firm. You can tell how similar or not they are to our faces. This was mine that you can see up here now. And I'll pass over to the panel now to introduce themselves. So let's start off with Sarah, who hopefully is going to be next on the illustration. So it just shows you the wealth of different skills we've got within the business already. Over to you, Sarah.
Hello, good evening. I'm Sarah Hawkins. I am the TA consultant for Aegon Asset Management. So I support the business with attracting talent to our roles. I've been with the business since March of this year. And prior to that, I've been doing recruitment for most of my career. So welcome.
Thanks, Sarah. And I'll pass over now to Dami and another sketch.
That's spot on. My name is Dami Otakoya. I'm a multi-asset investment dealer, and I am responsible for dealing and obtaining best execution across the various asset classes that we invest in.
Thanks, Dami. Thanks for joining the panel. And Georgina, if I can pass to you next. And
Hi, everyone. I'm Georgina Laird. Okay. I'm Georgina Laird. I'm a sustainable investment analyst in the responsible investment team at Aegon Asset Management. And I'm responsible for analysing companies for inclusion in our sustainable fund range.
Thanks all. And as I say, I'm Lindsay Hudson. I'm the head of inclusion and diversity for Aegon Asset Management, and really making sure that we cast our net as wide as possible when we think about the talent that we want to attract to our firm. So great. Now that we all know who we all are, a quick reminder, as I say, this is a webinar, so we won't see your faces, but please do use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen to ask us questions, and we'll try to get through as many of those questions today as possible. The plan is that we'll talk for about half an hour and then leave half the session for you to be able to ask us questions as well. So without further ado, grab your pen and paper, and I will pass over to Sarah to talk to you a bit about a company overview, just generally, and then we'll move into the recruitment piece. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do today is give you an introduction to who we are as a business. So Aegon Asset Management is a leading global investor. As a business, we serve clients across the globe in Europe, the Americas, and Asia. Our investment offerings include research-driven active management. We also have expertise in fixed income, field assets, equities, multi-asset and solutions, and also a multi-management. But we are also a leader in responsible investments. As a business, we are deeply resourced. So we currently have approximately 1,200 employees across the globe, and within that, approximately 370 investment professionals. We are proud to be a sustainable business, and we have been carbon neutral since 2016. And currently we have around 336.1 billion assets under management. With regard to careers at Aegon Asset Management, as a company, we offer a breadth of career options. Not only do we have more traditional roles in our front office, such as portfolio managers, dealers, investment managers, but we also have a wide range of roles in our operational functions, which include things like sales and distribution, marketing, HR, IT, finance, and risk. So you can see we have a wide range of roles that would attract different candidates with different skills. Add to this, each year we also build into our resourcing plan a number of internships, which give students and trainees the opportunity to work within our business for a set period of time, often between 8 to 10 weeks in the summer months. This allows them to gain real work experience on a real living wage. And this year alone, we had successful internships in both credit research and portfolio risk. As a business, we look to cast our talent net wide to ensure a diverse talent pool, and recently have formed strong relationships and partnerships with companies and charities to offer internships in 2022. These partnerships and charities include 10,000 Black Interns, Black Professionals Scotland, and GAIN Girls Are Investors. We're also looking to work with Investment 2020 programme, which offers trainees a 6-month placement in our business. This is something we have done successfully in the past, and we are keen to do more. Many candidates who complete placements and internships with us go on to take permanent roles within our business. Often they leave to complete their studies and return to our business later. As well as internships, we also have business as usual roles that arise when the manager is able to consider a more junior candidate who has the attitude and hunger to learn, and they in turn have the capacity to train and develop, such as a recent investment writer role that we filled this year. To view our opportunities, you can visit our careers website or follow our corporate social pages on LinkedIn. You can also create a professional profile on LinkedIn and connect with myself, as I post all new roles for Aegon Asset Management from my personal profile to my network. Creating a professional profile on LinkedIn is a great way of building a professional network. This virtual networking site allows you to connect with key contacts in the organisation you would like to work for. You may choose to connect with managers in the business areas you are attracted to, or with the TA consultant who supports them, such as myself. Or why not connect with both? Now I will pass you to Dami, who is a multi-asset dealer. He has worked for Aegon Asset Management for 8 years, and he will tell you all about his career today.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. As mentioned in my introduction, my name is Damilala Otakoya, and I'm a multi-asset investment dealer at Aegon Asset Management. I'm responsible for dealing and obtaining best execution across the various asset types that we invest in. My primary focus is on equity trading, futures trading, and DCA, so transaction cost analysis, and providing multi-asset support and dealing coverage to our global portfolio management team. I'm also the co-chair of a multicultural community and as part of our inclusion and diversity initiative. I've been with Aegon Asset Management now for around 8 years, almost 5 years within the dealing team, and been working within this industry for about 15 years now. And I really enjoy what I do. It's challenging, it's fast paced. Typically on any given day, I'll be on real-time chats with up to 30 different brokers simultaneously, have an eye on different markets, have an eye on news which may affect our names of interest, and be prepared to react quickly at the drop of a hat. I'll have an eye on a range of different trades across different regions and asset types. And I'll also be constantly working with internal teams as well. That's the thing, there's just so many different teams and roles that all come together, from middle office to risk teams, legal teams, client management, and all usually working together to make sure things are smooth and resolve any discrepancies. And on top of that, I perform transaction cost analysis to ensure that we're receiving best execution from our brokers and finding new ways to improve things. And as part of our multicultural community, we try to drive awareness and change, and things are certainly changing from that perspective. Progress has been slow, but compared to 10, 15 years ago, we're moving in the right direction. It's not perfect, but we're trying to get there as a company, and we've never had a better opportunity or resources to move the needle as we do now. And Aegon Asset Management is very supportive of this initiative. My journey to the role I have now has been anything but linear. I've had to keep an open mind and adapt to many changes along the way. And I think it would be good to share my experiences with you all. So I graduated with an honours degree in immunology and pharmacology. So a bit different to the industry I find myself in today. I worked in the lab for about 6 months and felt that although university was very exciting and covered so much within biomedical science, working day in and day out in a lab, although challenging on occasion, just wasn't something that I could see myself doing forever. It just wasn't fast-paced enough for me. I suppose if only I'd foreseen that 15 years later we'd be facing a global pandemic, who knows, maybe things might have panned out a little bit differently. I didn't really know where I saw myself, and never really thought that asset management was an industry I saw myself fitting in. I mean, things are getting better, but there are not many people that look like me in this industry, and that was more the case back then. But I kept an open mind to opportunities that may be out there, and took the decision to go back to university and take an undergraduate 1-year post-grad diploma in financial services. This gave me a decent grounding and base knowledge of a wide range of the financial sector, and just enough to apply for whatever was out there. After completing the diploma, I was lucky enough to find a role at an investment bank, Morgan Stanley, and the listed derivatives clearing team. So the role involved clearing, so essentially matching trades off an exchange, allocating, reconciling futures and options across all markets. And I loved it. The environment was fast-paced, no 2 days were the same. There was always something going on that had an effect on the markets, especially at that time when we had the global financial crisis. After a year or so, I led the futures clearing team and also covered trading assistance for the equity and fixed income execution desks. So this gave me the occasional exposure to front office, which I enjoyed it, and it gave me the bug to aim for a career in front office and trading. After about 4 years, I felt like I could use a new challenge and kept my ears and my eyes open for any opportunities within the industry. That's the thing, there's just so many different roles and opportunities out there, and I'd say getting in the door is half the battle. I found a middle office role as a derivative specialist at BlackRock Asset Management. So this was a move to the buy side. The role was still fast paced and covered not only listed derivatives, so your exchange traded futures and options, but also swaps, so your credit default swaps, your interest rate swaps, and covered most middle office functions from margining, reconciliation, and life cycle events of the trade. As this was my first point of entry into asset management industry, there was so much to learn about different products and the way things work, which always kept me challenged. After another 4 years, I was made aware of a more specialist opportunity in the derivatives operations team at Aegon Asset Management, and was convinced to bring my expertise to the derivative operations team. Now, this was a more technical role covering the post-trade oversight of all processes within the swap lifecycle. So, and this was, to say for one, a very steep learning curve, from valuations to learning yield curves and CSAs, all just went over my head. I felt like I was asking 40 different questions a day and still not fully getting it. And one great thing about Aegon Asset Management is if you need help, there's always someone willing to mentor you and go above and beyond to ensure that you get the help you need. And for me, I received external one-to-one training courses. I mean, we had a company that creates valuation engines come in and give me basic and advanced derivative training on every aspect of derivatives, even things that I had already known, which helped me make sense of everything. Eventually it clicked, and asking loads of questions turned out to being asked loads of questions to becoming that go-to guy. And from then on, I've had to adapt multiple times to a changing regulatory environment, changing rule specs, which encompasses more and more middle office functions, and just gaining more and more knowledge. What I will say is Aegon Asset Management take career progression and development very seriously. And front office experience was always something that I made managers aware was a road that I saw myself progressing down. In 2016, I was given the opportunity to join the central dealing desk on a 12-month secondment as a dealing assistant, and I took that opportunity with two hands. And from then on, just organically expanded my responsibilities from checking queries to best XTCA to also encompass dealing and execution, which is where I find myself now. And I have to say I was humbled and grateful to be nominated and receive the Trade Magazine's Rising Star of Trading and Execution Award last year, which makes the journey well worth it. My journey is by no means plateaued. I still have absolutely loads to learn across all asset classes, and I'm still constantly asking questions, reading, taking as many learning opportunities as possible to keep challenged and my opportunities open. So my career so far has been far from a linear line from point A to point B, but more of a squiggly line that continues to evolve. If I could offer any advice to graduates looking for a career in this industry, it would be to keep your mind open and options open to opportunities that may not have been at the forefront of your thoughts beforehand. As the world and industry landscape changes, especially with more automation and AI, and to an extent, the pandemic, just be prepared to adapt with it. And I would also say that once in the industry, just keep asking questions, take every opportunity you can to learn, whether it's from colleagues, online courses, physical courses, reading up on market news and updates. I feel that goes a long way. I hope I've been able to give you a bit of insight into my experiences, and best of luck in your future careers. Thank you. I now pass you over to my colleague, Georgina, who will also share her experience and her journey with you.
Thanks very much, Danny. So I'm Georgina. I started out doing mathematics at university, and I started my career in investments at Russell Investments, which has actually since been bought by the London Stock Exchange. And in that role, I was responsible for calculating the returns of the various index products that they offer. And this led me quite naturally into my next role at Aegon Asset Management as a performance analyst. And there I would calculate the performance of the Aegon Asset Management fund range over various time periods. In this role, I was always looking for ways to make our processes more sustainable and more efficient. So if you think using less resources or man hours to complete the tasks and less paper, as back then we were still printing pieces of paper and signing them, getting sign off for various tasks and things. So making the processes more efficient actually in turn made them more sustainable as well. And I would always be raising various ways that we could do this to our Director of Operations at the time. And around this same time, Aegon Asset Management actually launched its first company-wide sustainability committee. And my director at the time told me that I could go and represent operations on this committee since, and I quote, I was always banging on about sustainability. So this was a really good opportunity for me. It gave me great exposure across the business, and it introduced me to different areas of the business and how they approach sustainability. And in particular, the investment team interested me. So this led me to better understand how we could be more sustainable, not just in our own operations, but across the fund range. Apologies, just cut my throat there. Across our fund range and the companies that we invest in, and to encourage them to act in a more sustainable manner. So an opportunity in our ESG team soon opened up, and I was super excited to move through to that part of the business. I worked in the ESG team for 2 years, analysing stocks for inclusion in our Global Sustainable Equity Fund. And I would also be engaging directly with companies in this role, so encouraging them to operate in a more sustainable manner. Other responsibilities that I had would involve feeding into the voting process and sitting on external committees to discuss how the investment industry as a whole could further the sustainability agenda. This was a really good place to be in the business. Aegon Asset Management have a very long heritage in responsible investing, and they launched one of the first ethical funds over 20 years ago. And they also supported me through this role to start my CFA qualification. So they supported me to study through level 1 of the CFA and sent me down to London to do revision weeks for that. So that was a really great opportunity. After about 2 years in that role, life happened, so as to speak. My partner and I decided to travel. It was sort of now or never for us. So we traveled through Asia for 8 months, and then we went on to work in Australia for just over a year. And the fantastic thing about Aegon Asset Management is they supported me in this journey. And so rather than resigning completely, I went on a career break. So we stayed away for just over 2 years in the end, and I kept in touch with the team at Aegon Asset Management and planned my return to the ESG team last year. So I came back on the 1st of July last year. And we now have numerous funds in our sustainable fund range. It's a really good place in the business to be. So you've probably all heard of terms such as ESG, ethical investing, the Sustainable Development Goals, responsible investing. This is all getting a lot more mainstream in the media just now. And a lot of people think that, recycling at home or using green travel, cycling to work, things like this is a great way to be more sustainable, and it absolutely is. But actually our pensions and our own investments can have a lot more impact than we can have day to day. So most of us will have a pension throughout our life for when we retire, and that pension will hold shares in numerous companies, and yours could be holding shares in companies like oil and gas companies or tobacco, things that are harmful to society and the environment. So it's always important to understand where your money is and what it's contributing to. So I think the message overall for me would be to always think outside the box. When approaching a career in finance, there's lots of different roles, as I'm sure you can see, and many different areas that you can move into. So you should really investigate that and look to discover what suits you, what you're passionate about. And if you do have an interest in sustainability, then please do consider finance, because it's a really great way that you can have a positive impact on people and the planet. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Georgina, and thanks, Sarah and Dami as well for their contribution. So We've got lots of Q&As coming through. I'm going to try and get through as many as possible. Do keep adding any additional questions since you've heard from all of the panelists, and we'll try to get through all of those in the half an hour that we've got on the session. So the first question here is probably one for Sarah. Is a work visa sponsorship available if I got an offer?
So this is a question we get quite a lot, visa sponsorship. It depends on the role. So the government will tell us as a business, and all businesses actually in the UK, which types of roles we can offer visa sponsorship for. So if we did have a candidate that we wanted to offer that required a visa sponsorship, we would need to engage with a solicitor and a visa specialist to confirm that the role that we want to do visa sponsorship for is eligible. And then it would be to the business area to pay for that sponsorship. So it's definitely something we can consider, but it would need to be for the right role in the right circumstance.
Thanks, Sarah. And possibly another one for you, although maybe the panelists have got some other thoughts on this as well, as hiring managers. What skill set does Aegon Asset Management look for in their ideal candidate?
Skills.
Yeah, skills.
So generically, I would say skills we would look for as a business tend to be things like resilience, adaptability and agility, good communication skills, teamwork, and the ability to build relationships. But in terms of specific roles, it really depends on the role. So obviously, as a business, we have some quite technical roles, some very analytical roles, where the manager would want to see candidates that have got good numeracy, good analysis, potentially statistical abilities. Whereas, other roles, perhaps marketing or sales, they might want somebody more creative, or if it's sales, more implementing skills. So it really depends on the role.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I think there's also an impression, certainly when you're a student, that you assume it's all about grades and subjects. Mm-hmm. And I think what you've just talked us through there really highlights that actually it's about the whole person. Mm-hmm. It's about the emotional intelligence. It's not just about the grades and the subject choices. And I think one of the things, actually before this session, I was just totting up the number of different roles that I'd had, within asset management over the 25 years I've been in, and it's been around a change every couple of years. And I think that's the beauty of working in asset management, is there are so many different career opportunities. If you keep that door open and you keep expanding your network, then there are so many doors that you can open to move into different areas. And I think both Dami and Georgina's career stories highlighted that really well. So yeah, it's not just all about subjects and grades. Right, moving to the next question. A question for Dami. What drew you to multi-asset, and what depth and type of knowledge is needed per asset class to perform well in such strategies?
What drew me to multi-asset? Well, our central dealing team is a multi-asset team, which is typically split with many asset classes. But I think that at least a minimum, a core knowledge of each asset type, as you need to understand the product that you're essentially trading, and a minimum knowledge of how the market actually works as well. But a lot of these skills and a lot of this knowledge is intertransferable between a lot of the different asset classes, and to an extent the markets as well, along with, I guess, the systems we use can be the same on many asset classes as well, and so that makes learning a lot easier. Hope I've answered your question.
Thanks, Dami. Another question here, how can we connect with you on LinkedIn? All you need to do is go into LinkedIn, create your own profile if you don't have one already, look up any of our names, and connect with us. Simple as that. And then, as Sarah was saying, she posts all of the opportunities out from her personal LinkedIn profile. You can also follow Aegon Asset Management on LinkedIn. So it's a really simple way of connecting, hearing news, on ESG, all of the topics we've been covering today. You'll be able to follow all of our posts, all of our opportunities as they open up. I've seen another question actually a little bit further down, just about, do you offer a big grad program? The answer to that is no, we don't. We don't have that wide. We don't have hundreds of offerings every year on a grad program. We just haven't got that degree of opportunity. But we do have opportunities for entry level careers. So it's really a matter of you being proactive, keeping an eye on the careers page, keeping an eye on LinkedIn. Those are the best ways, and connecting in with some of the other partner organizations that Sarah covered earlier in her talk as well. Something like the Investment 2020 is an amazing program. Next question. I'm a graduate and an ACCA finalist candidate. Can I apply for a permanent position? It's probably one for you, Sarah.
Yeah, definitely. What I would say is, when you're applying for roles, have a really good read through the job description. We would definitely invite applications from qualified accountants, no problem. It's just about picking the role that you're interested in.
Thanks, Sarah. And actually along the same lines, does Aegon Asset Management offer summer internships?
Yes, we do. We're actually working with our partners at the moment to create internships for next year. So we're working with 10,000 Black Interns, we're working with GAIN and Black Professional Scotland, and through those partnerships we will definitely have a number of internships available next year.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. And another question here for you, Dami. Thank you so much for your time today. You described quite a fast-paced and reactionary environment at Aegon. However, I think about, maybe falsely, asset managers as having the opportunity to develop more longer-term strategic positions and portfolios that see the realization of protracted time horizon investment strategies influenced by more macro global events, specifically with reference to trading fixed income securities. Would you say this is also part of your day, or are most of your positions shorter term?
I would say so. When I say fast-paced, so reactionary is not the correct word, but when I say fast-paced, it isn't really about the strategic positions, but it's from a trading perspective. So if a trade comes on from a transaction cost analysis perspective, if something is put on and it's liquid and it's can move quite fast, then I have to be on hand to place the trade, and it could be in potentially a choppy market environment. And so when I'm saying fast-paced, it's not from a positional strategic point of view, it's from purely a dealing point of view, where markets are fast and markets do move, and you can miss out if something's come on and you're not there on hand to place it timely, then yeah, you can miss out. And reactionary also not being the right word as well. I would say that we could have positions in loads and loads of names, but we would have part of my role is to look out for, there could be a news that comes out in that name, just something could happen in that name. I have to be on hand to quickly flag that there's news in this name. We need to make a decision ASAP. So that's the reactionary perspective, and that's just not just sitting waiting for one name for news on one name throughout the day. It could be our whole entire suite of names. We would have to know what those names are, and then looking out to see there could be news or headlines, or even just government headlines that move those names. We have to be so reactionary from that point of view, not from an actual strategic positioning point of view. If that makes sense, and hope I've answered that question for you.
That's great. Thanks very much, Dami. That was a great overview. And one for Georgina. How has your CFA improved the value of your work and decisions made in work?
So I actually completed the investment management certificate in the previous role. And once I moved through to the front office, the CFA seemed like the appropriate course to follow that. So it was a really good step for me moving through to front office. It allowed me to, having worked in operations previously, it kind of brought my understanding of the markets up a level and gave me a better understanding of the environment. I understood more of what was going around me after I did that qualification. But it's probably worth mentioning that it's actually now, and Sarah, you might want to help me out here, but it's a requirement from regulatory perspective for front office to do IMC and CFA level 1 to be approved, I think. I'm pretty sure it's I would have, had I not done it when I moved through it, I would have got to do it level 1 anyway by now. I'm not sure if I'll go on to do level 2 and 3 there. I think that there are other kind of more ESG, sustainable leadership related qualifications that might be more appropriate to my role. So I'm investigating all sorts of avenues there. And again, Aegon Asset Management are very supportive throughout that process.
Thanks, Georgina. One for Sarah. Does Aegon Asset Management have school-specific recruiters? I'm currently at Cambridge, and if so, should I be reaching out to them directly?
Unfortunately, due to our size, we don't have a campus recruiter. Whether that'll change in the future, but certainly due to the size of our business at the moment, we don't have a separate campus recruiter. So yeah, it's just me.
Another good reason, though, to keep on LinkedIn, to keep on the website, save that as your favourites, and just keep an eye out for posts. That's the best way, really. And I think that goes for a lot of asset managers. You know, a lot of us are in that same position where you don't have hundreds and hundreds of roles being advertised at one particular time. So it's really important to loop in with partner organisations, you know, Investment 2020, you know, obviously the skills workshop that we've got going on at the moment, just to keep your finger on the pulse and to make sure you're at the forefront of hearing about all of those opportunities when they're posted. A question for Dami. You've worked for a range of different companies. If you had to pick one thing that differentiates Aegon Asset Management from others, what would it be for you?
Oh, I would say, and not to say other companies don't do this well, because they do. But I would say career progression and development. Yes, there's always career progression at other places, but I just find that at Aegon Asset Management, we take career progression and development very seriously. When I raised that, yes, I want to be in the front office, I want to be dealing, then the next stage is, how do you get there? What do you need to be there? And then as your kind of work here goes on, you're looking to add skills. So okay, so maybe you could be doing with sitting the IMC, so get your IMC under your belt, study that. Let's get you more front office exposure, let's get you in front of people. So it's always that's always up out with your role. There's always ways that you can raise your profile to achieve that, and that's where I think that Aegon Asset Management really stands out.
That's great. Thanks, Dami. Now, this is an interesting one. What's the work-life balance like, especially at a junior level? Georgina, what are your thoughts on that one?
Really good, yeah. I've always thought that the work-life balance at Aegon Asset Management is really good. You know, they're very open and accepting of people's personal lives, obviously within reason, but it's a very nice bunch. Everyone gets on very well. That's why I came back.
Yeah, and I'd add to that. I mean, I've, as I say, I've been in this industry for 25 years, and over that time, I've had 3 children, and it's always afforded me the flexibility that I needed to be able to balance my work and my family life. So it's been a great place to work from that perspective. And obviously there are new opportunities, particularly now post-pandemic, although it's been a difficult 18 months. The silver lining has been that I think it has propelled the industry as a whole into considering more flexibility to allow greater work-life balance in the future as well. Many firms are considering more of a hybrid model, a move away from presenteeism. And so that suddenly opens up the universe to more people not to be just quite so hamstrung with the postcode lottery, where you've seen that the sort of wealth of jobs being in London particularly, which is great. That has been one of the silver linings. So Dami, Sarah, did you want to answer anything in terms of work-life balance from your perspective? It's good to get different views on that one.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, go for it, Dami.
No, I would say spot on with everything that's being said. The work-life balance here, that's I would say out with, I guess, the pandemic, because we're working from home, so we've all got a work-life balance now that we're working from home. But out with that, it's all the work-life balance has always been great here. I found that as a whole, everyone, the firm is very accommodating and flexible. So I would say that also kind of stands out, and that kind of almost differentiates us from a lot of places as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say similar. So, I've joined the company in March. I've worked with the company virtually since I've joined. And yet you're trusted, you're treated as an adult, you're trusted to do your role. And you manage your time, so you make sure you get your role done in the time. But yeah, it feels a very adult environment, which I really like. And as a business, we are working on a hybrid contract, so that will allow people to work from home and in the office, so potentially 1 or 2 days a week in the office and then the other times from home. So that's really a big commitment to work-life balance and flexible working, which is really something to be proud of. So, and the business asks about our welfare all the time, and make sure that we're taking time to go for a walk at lunch, and little things like that really make a difference.
Thanks, everyone. And Sarah, if I can stick with you, we've got a person saying they're tuning in from South Africa. Graduates who'll be completing their MPhils in June 2022 apply for your internship program.
Generally speaking, our internships tend to be taken by people still studying. So they tend to be people that have maybe got a couple of years to go, so they'll do it as a summer placement. But if you wanted to apply for that at the end of your study, that's okay as well. It's a short-term placement. You might be more attracted to perhaps more the investment 2020, which is a longer placement with us. So, but no, we're more than happy to apply.
And where are your offices in the UK based?
London. So we have an office in the Cheese Grater, I think we call it, Leadenhall. Our main office is in Edinburgh, out at the Gyle. Our sister company, Aegon UK, they've got multiple offices in places like Whitton and Peterborough and places like that. But our main offices for Aegon Asset Management are London and Edinburgh.
Thanks, Sarah. And I know you've already talked a lot about the sort of entry-level early careers opportunities, but there's a question here around whether we have graduate programs, which I know we've said we don't have a specific graduate program, but the opportunities that are available in Edinburgh specifically.
I mean, we will have opportunities that lend themselves to newly qualified graduates. I meet with managers who specifically say, I'm happy to look at a fresh graduate, somebody who's got the right attitude, they've done perhaps some analytical work in their degree, or for example, the investment writer I was working on, they're interested in somebody who's done journalism at university. So I will definitely have roles coming up or next year where people will be open to fresh graduates. So although we don't have a specific graduate program, there'll definitely be roles that would be of interest.
Thank you. Maybe one for Georgina. How can I expand my learning of portfolio management and financial analysis? Also, what are the best tips for getting a sophomore internship?
For me, so I'm probably one for Sarah on the internship.
Yeah, I was thinking the first bit maybe, Georgina, if you can talk about the sort of how can I expand my learning of portfolio management and financial analysis. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so just a lot of reading online, and it's also really good to look at asset management companies, look at their materials that they produce. So for us, you can go on the Aegon Asset Management website. We have lots of fund reports for our various funds. You can look at, for example, the sustainable fund range. We go right into our methodology. It talks about some of the companies that we hold, why we hold them, both from an investment perspective and also from a sustainability perspective. So, and also speaking to people. So it's really great to get yourself a mentor in the industry. If you know anyone, through a friend, or if you just approach anyone, even online or LinkedIn, can I take you for a coffee, can I have a quick call, and just talk about exactly what we're talking about today.
Thanks, Georgina. And Sarah, have you got any other tips that we haven't already covered about tips for getting into the internship program?
I mean, I think there was a question I saw about cover letters. I mean, they're a really great way of bringing to life, what you're passionate about, where you'd like your career to go, why asset management, what skills you can bring to the role. They're really good ways of kind of, setting yourself out against your competitors in terms of like why you'd really want to do the role. And yeah, I mean, having, an interview, showing your passion and your interest in what the internship would give to you, what you'd hope to develop in, those types of things, really.
That's great. Thanks, Sarah. Georgina, back to you. So we've got somebody here who's saying, I'm particularly interested in impact and ESG investing. Could you say more about your current allocations? I understand that many ESG investments can represent higher risk positions. How are you able to circumvent this? And overall, how is the deal pipeline for your division structured? To what extent is it modulated by your clients? An extensive question. I don't know whether you can slightly simplify your response.
Yes, so I'll break that down. So we have holdings across our sustainable fund range in both developed and emerging markets, and we approach risk in a measured way. So for each company that we invest in, we are looking at the most material ESG factors for that company. So if you think of a pharmaceutical company like AstraZeneca, look at things like product safety and quality, how many product recalls have they had. For a company like Facebook, it would be privacy, data security, also greenhouse gas emissions. So what is their impact on the climate, because they have a lot of data centers that can be very carbon intensive. So we're looking at the most material ESG factors for each company that varies across industries. And then we assess the performance of the company against those factors and assess how they measure up versus their peers as well. For the last part of the question on do clients dictate this? Sometimes yes, sometimes clients will come to you with their own. So for example, in our ethical fund range, our clients can feed into that about what ethical values are important to them and what they would like to see in that fund range. And if it's a segregated mandate, then we can alter that for that client.
Great, thanks, Georgina. Possibly one for you, Sarah. What benefits do Aegon Asset Management offer, and what's the culture like?
Okay, so in terms of benefits, so on top of your salary, we also have a discretionary bonus scheme. So each year you would sit with your manager to agree your objectives for the year. And then at the end of the year, you would be rated according to the goals and objectives that you'd met. And then both your performance and your company performance would dictate what bonus you achieve. So that's your salary, your bonus. We also have a pension scheme, a non-contributory pension scheme. So you'd receive a percentage contribution per year based on your age. We have private healthcare, so you would get that without probation. So as soon as you joined us, we also have life assurance. And what else do we have? They're the main ones. Critical illness. We also offer critical illness. And we have a range of other kind of corporate rate benefits that you can pick and choose from when you join us. And in terms of the culture, I've only been here since March, so I would probably ask others to join me. But my impression of the culture so far is that everyone is super friendly. People go out their way to help you. So when I joined, somebody reached out and said, "Oh, I see you've joined. Would you like to have a coffee? And I'll tell you about the history of the company." I thought that was just amazing. So lovely to have someone reach out and do that. And of course, I took them up on their offer. Very open with feedback, always saying thank you and open with praise if you do something well. So yeah, that is my impression of the culture so far, but others have been here for longer, so I'll let them speak.
Yeah, I would reiterate that as well. Everybody is friendly, helpful. Everybody's willing to go above and beyond to mentor if need be. And one thing as well is that you're always encouraged to bring your true self to work. You're always encouraged to speak up as well, regardless of how senior you may be. If you have an opinion, or if you feel that something isn't working right or something is working right, then you are encouraged to actively be engaged and actively speak up. And I know as well, so for example, you could be invited to a meeting with very senior people within the meeting, and maybe in a lot of other kind of places it might be that you are, or why do I feel like I belong here? Should I really be here? But the fact that you're invited to a meeting means that you're basically expected to what you have to say is of value, and you're expected to contribute. So yeah, that's very much what the culture is like.
Thanks, Tammy. I think I'm conscious that we've only got another couple of minutes. I think this is a really nice one just for us all to contribute to. What do you enjoy most about working in asset management, and what would you change? Let me start off on that one. So what do I enjoy most? I would say definitely the people. The people in the asset management industry, I would say overall, have all been an absolute pleasure to work with. Everyone is so open to helping you progress, helping you develop. As soon as you come into a firm, you're welcomed with open arms, as Sarah was saying, very informal. Come along, have a coffee. I get the sense that everybody wants to help and sort of lift as you climb, which is really nice. What would you change about working in asset management? You can never have enough people, right? So particularly in the role that I'm in now, there are so many different opportunities to make our industry more diverse, more inclusive. And I struggle with, how many hours I've not got in the day. So for me, it would always be, you could never have enough hands to the deck to create more opportunity there. Sarah, how about you?
Similar to yourself. So yeah, the people are lovely. The culture, I really like the culture here. And we've got some really great people in our business. So far, I've been really enjoying working with marketing and compliance. That there's a lot of people who are really proud what they do, and really strive to be the best in their role every day, and you can really get a sense of that. What would I change? More budget to bring in more talent, like just bring in as many fun people as I could. So but yeah, no, I'm really enjoying my time here. It's great.
Thanks, Sarah. Dami, Georgina, any words on that from you both?
Yeah, I would just echo that as well. I think I agree with you, Lindsay. The people that I've met over the years working at Aegon Asset Management, I mean, that's why I wanted to come back, and kept in touch with them the whole time I was away. So it's make true friends, I think. And also in the ESG team and the area that I work in is, you know, the impact that you can have, and the conversations that you can have with people in industry and with other asset managers is really can contribute to the sustainability agenda overall. So you really can have an impact.
Yeah, and again, I'd have to echo that as well. The people, everyone is super friendly, and the people which at the end of the day is what makes the business tick. And I think that the fact that you spend most of your life, your life working at an office next to people, it goes a long way to actually work with people that are really nice, and also are always willing to go above and beyond to help, and that you would do the same for yourself.
Thanks, Tammy. And just a quick one word from you all. The final question we always like to ask the panelists. Can you tell us what you wanted to be when you were growing up? Sarah?
Their hostess.
Love that. Dami?
I think like all probably people all children growing up, especially my children, like some kind of sports superstar, like a footballer. Yeah, although I'm no good at football, but yeah.
Yeah, an appealing lifestyle. Georgina, how about you?
I wanted to be a surgeon, so I did all my work experience in hospitals, and I just satisfy that by watching a very well-known program series that's about surgeons.
Brilliant. Yeah, from my side, I wanted to be a property developer, which I still hanker after now. So I spend a ridiculous amount of time on Rightmove looking for project properties, which I don't buy. One day, maybe one day. Okay, well, thank you all. We're coming to the end now, and we hope that you've all enjoyed getting to know a bit more about Aegon Asset Management this evening, and that it was useful for you. Don't forget, please keep an eye on our careers website and follow us on LinkedIn. People have been asking about the recordings of these sessions, and just as a reminder, all of them are recorded and added to the Skills Workshop website, bit of a tongue twister, after the session. So do go back and have a look. Also, don't forget that you can still register for all of our upcoming sessions, 32 more firms to go. So we're at time now, and all that's left to do is to thank our speakers for today. Please connect with us on LinkedIn, send us emails, and follow the Skills Workshop on LinkedIn too for the latest updates. Like, comment, and share. We're all here to help. So thank you all for spending the time with us this evening, and I wish you all the best on behalf of all of us here at Aegon Asset Management for your future career paths, and I hope that you will all be keeping an eye on that website and our LinkedIn feed for opportunities. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.